Hey, real estate fam. This is Steve from How to Master the Art of Selling Real Estate YouTube channel. Anyways, today's topic, let's get right to it. How to pass the National Real Estate Exam. Keep in mind, when you're taking the test for your real estate license, you have to take a two-part test. One consists the majority of national test exam questions and state and local test questions, which are based upon state law. The national testing part is basically broken down into several parts, and I'll give you just a little heads up on what to focus on, what classes to take, and how to focus to have a successful test result. For one, you need to know real estate principles and practices. I got to look down for a minute. Real property characteristics, legal descriptions, and property use, knowledge applications, and analysis. So you need to know real property versus personal property, fixtures, trade fixtures, emblements, attachment, severance, and bills of sale, characteristics of real property, economic scarcities, modification improvements, permanence of an investment, fixity, area preference, and situs conditions. Physical characteristics would be immobility, indestructibility, non-homogenic and uniqueness of the actual characteristic of the real property. Legal descriptions, methods used to describe real property, and surveys. Public and private land use controls, especially encumbrances. Public controls, government powers such as eminent domain, police power, taxation, escheat, zoning ordinances, private controls, restrictions and encroachments and covenants, conditions and restrictions and HOAs, easements, licenses and encroachments when it comes to different encumbrances on the actual property. Forms of ownership, transfer, and recording of title is very important to know inside and out. Ownership, estates, rights, and interests. Forms of ownership, freeholds estates, fee simple absolute estates, fee simple defeasible, determinable, and condition subsequent, life estate, bundle of rights, leasehold estates, and types of leases is essential on the exam. Estates for years, basically periodic estates, life estates, lifehold estates, estates at will, estates at sufferance. And then you need to understand what gross, net, and percentage type leases are. Liens and the lien priority is absolutely critical. When it comes to liens, typically I see like you'll need to understand what a mechanics lien is. You'll need to understand what a tax lien is, and you need to understand the different recording rights. They're all on the test exam questions. You need to understand exactly when basically the government tax lien all the way down to your mortgage liens and anything that mechanics liens on the property, anything that is going to cloud the title, as they call it, make it an unclean title. And you need to understand how title is recorded and how it's referenced when it comes to real estate law, and the constructive and actual notice, the title abstract, and the chain of title. You'll need to understand marketable title and cloud on title. And you'll need to understand attorney title opinion, quiet title lawsuit, and title insurance. And you'll need to understand basically what kind of strengths of title that you hold in a real estate transaction. And the best one is fee simple absolute title. Property value, free of all liens and encumbrances, of course. Property value and appraisals knowledge. If you are a new licensee or studying to be a new licensee, real estate appraisal is the absolute most important, critical skill that you can learn, is learning how to properly value property so you can come at a market price when you property for a potential seller on a listing, or if you were to find the market value. Basically, you have to have a background in appraisal, and you need to know it inside and out. I recommend that if you are taking pre-licensed courses, that real estate appraisal is the most important, in my opinion, most important class that you take besides real estate finance and real estate practices and principles. I also would take, just because a lot of us aren't going to be focusing in property management and leases, but it is a big part of the test. So I would also take a property management class as well. And I would take a class on real estate agency, so you understand all the proper state and national laws on agency and fiduciary responsibilities as a professional when you are representing a client. And you need to understand those, because those are the actual things that can cause you to be in trouble with the real estate commission if you are not properly disclosing. Everything is about transparency and disclose. Don't worry about what a potential thing. You always have to be honest and transparent in everything that you do. If you do, as a new licensee, if you do not know all the proper information, tell them that you don't answer incorrectly. You tell them that you will get back to them with the proper information, even if it makes you look like a fool at the time. Ultimately, you have a fiduciary responsibility to do everything by the book, correct and transparent. And ultimately, your license is on the line. Your lawsuits and different things like that can happen for people for not being transparent, especially on property disclosures. You have to realize that no matter what, if there is a latent or material defect on a property, your customer, your seller has to disclose that. And if you know something and you do not disclose it, your license will be at risk. It is best to disclose, always be transparent in everything that you do. There's always a rebuttal. There's always things, there's always problems. And ultimately, the inspectors are they're good at what they do. The title companies are good at what they do. They're going to ultimately find out the defects in the liens, defects in the title. They're going to find defects in the homes ultimately, regardless. So all you're going to do is basically put together a weak transaction and then be made out to be a person of uncredibility and basically dishonest. So ultimately, you need to transparently disclose everything in the real estate transaction, from the fiduciary responsibility of agency all the way to every single thing along every part of the purchase agreement. And a lot of people are making the huge mistake as new real estate agents of not sitting down with their client and going over the contracts. They're using digital apps, is basically to send over, and it's great for convenience. Obviously, we use them. It speeds up a lot of things when it comes to paperwork and whatnot. But a person should always walk through their customer line by line of all the purchase agreement conditions of a residential purchase agreement, and keep in mind, and a listing contract, and all transparent disclosures. Everyone should be on the same page with everything, and allow your customer, after you go through each thing line by line, to ask questions. And then you resolve them in a timely, you let them know transparently what's going on. But ultimately, this helps avoid multiple problems in the transaction down the line. If everything is up front from the beginning, you can get over those things quickly without having any kind of animosity between you and the clients. Another thing that I definitely want to recommend, especially for people, is that when you have two parties, a husband and a wife, whether it be, or whatever kind of partner or whatever, where two people are on the purchase or the sale, you have to make a point to always, especially if you're, one thing, I don't like texts, but if you are texting, you need to include both of them in the text. You need to include both of them on the phone calls, both of them in person, under all and every contractual thing. And this is absolutely critical and important, especially in a divorce situation where things get heated and there's tensions and things like that. By being a true professional and being transparent and not just talking to one side, the one that hired you or whatever, that is a huge mistake. And I can save you countless times of in so much pain by just avoiding that mistake right off the rip. So do know that. As far as appraisal goes, you're going to have a concept of value, market value versus market price. Also, too, you got to remember there's three types of appraisals. I'm just going loosely paraphrasing off my mind here, but you have an income approach. Also, there's investment properties that base base the value based upon income that's coming in, and then you have a cost approach, which is what it would cost to build something, and then you have the market approach, which is typically going to be used, which is your three comparable cells in a neighborhood with like kind property, and making adjustments for 2-car garage, 1-car garage, simple things like this. But also when it comes to appraisals, be careful when it comes to like site conditions. Busier road, obviously things like that are going to come into play and devalue the property and extend market time. So when you become an expert at market time in your neighborhood and understanding these, when it comes to a sales approach and appraisal, you can price a property correctly and you can write an offer correctly based upon value, and it will save you so much time. Because if you overprice a listing, you're just to get a listing is foolish, because ultimately all you're doing is wasting the prime market time. And if you are going to go off of the customers, then ultimately you're going to end up extending the market time and hurting both parties, and the sale will get delayed. And I'll have a whole nother video on that. But let's get back to other things that you can look for. Methods of estimating value. If you obviously, we call it a comparative market analysis or a broker's price opinion. When a real estate agent makes a price opinion based upon the comparable sales approach. And also on your real estate exam, you're going to be going into financing, different applications of financing, especially mortgages. Seller financing, not as common now, but you should know deeds of trust, in layman's terms, also called land contracts. And you should also understand sources of financing: primary, secondary mortgage markets, VA loans, and FHA loans. You need to master. You're going to be using those a lot. Conventional mortgages you're going to be using a lot. And you need to understand the difference between adjustable rate mortgages and fixed mortgages. I typically would tell everyone to stick with fixed rate mortgages. And that just depends. I mean, there are people that are experts that get ARMs that are in corporate buyout situations and things like that are more savvy with finance. But your general middle class customer that's purchased a home, you definitely want to get them in a fixed rate. You do not want to put them into a adjustable rate mortgage that could be a huge. That's where the subprime market collapse came from, was fraudulent type mortgages that set people up for failure back in 08 and 09. And I've seen a lot of it. It's horrific to see someone lose their house in foreclosure based on promises made by a unethical salesperson or mortgage lender. Anyway, so know those things, be a professional, be honest in your work and everything that you do. And also, you need to understand insurance, hazard insurance, flood plains, and you need to understand exactly private mortgage insurance. When different types of down payments are down, you have to understand and master these things. And then you have certain regulations that you're going to have to learn: truth in lending regulations that are government regulations. You need to understand the closing statements, the HUD ones. You'll need to understand Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, Equal Opportunity Act, when it comes to mortgages, especially like redlining and different types of fair housing things are huge questions on the test exam. You have to know those. You will be tested on those. And basically, you're going to need to know how to do settlement closing statements. You're going to have to, the mathematics of the closing statements and whatnot, you can learn them freehand. They're basic. Once you have them down, it's like any math application. A lot of people fear the math part. Math is the easiest part because it doesn't change. Once you have it down and once you have it mastered, you will master the math part. It's basic. It's it's basically compounding interest, basic theories that you can easily learn in real estate mathematics. Then you'll have to know how to do property area calculations when it comes to like square footage, acreage, square footage. Some of the basic questions are going to be how many square feet are in an acre, things like that in the test. Property valuation. You're going to have to obviously know how to do the comparative market analysis that I talked to you about, or the broker's price opinion. And then another way is for income property is called a net operating income statement. That's a little bit more complex. That requires valuing an income property real estate investment course to be able to understand that properly. And in commercial, you definitely need that. You need to know your cap rates, your internal rates of return. There's just simple, basic real estate math that I took at a commercial real estate finance at a high level at a university, and it was the greatest courses I've ever took. It actually made me be able to do my own taxes, create my own corporations, my own accounting. It sets you up. Being an expert in finance will set you up long term in your personal life, your retirement, your investments. Being able to analyze a real estate investment is absolutely critical, whether it starts from the GPI, gross potential income that comes in, and you get all the way down to your operating expenses, your amortization, interest, and then you get all the way down to your cash flow before and after taxes. You can put in vacancy rates, all those things, and you can literally plan your future and your customers. If they know you're an expert in real estate finance, you'll be able to sell a lot of foreclosures, a lot of investment properties. You'll be known as a expert in those things. The majority of real estate agents do not know real estate finance at that level. I picked up a lot of extra business especially when I was younger, especially during foreclosure type markets, when I knew finance inside and out, whereas my competition did not. Also, too, finance is the key to any great investor to find value plays. Mathematics is absolutely essential in real estate, and the people that know their terminology and they're proficient in mathematics, especially investment analysis, they're just going to be better off in everything in life. You'll be set up for retirement, and you'll be able to see good real estate deals when your income starts getting up and you have savings, and you'll be able to purchase, flip real estate, rent it out. You can break down multifamily and commercial real estate deals and be more versed and open up more markets and get higher people that understand that the people that control the wealth in this country, we have a lingo, we have a talk. And if you understand that talk and you understand finance inside and out, and you understand how to apply principles that are high level economic and finance principles, you will attract higher profile customers that spend more. There's less emotion in the transaction, and ultimately they will refer you to higher levels of other clients and whatnot. So ultimately, this game, this real estate thing is it's an information age. The one that masters the insides and outs in every part of a real estate transaction, the financial aspects that can provide the greatest resources to acquire financing, whether it be commercial, that understands the insides outs of the primary and secondary mortgage markets. They will exceed, far, far, far greater than your average real estate agent. So those high level university classes should be in real estate appraisal, real estate, commercial real estate finance, especially real estate finance, real estate accounting, real estate law, real estate investments. I think I said that before, but also, you need to go way well and beyond the principles and practices part of it. To pass the test and get the test done is not enough to become a successful real estate agent. It's a start, but it is, and definitely you don't want to take forever either. I mean, you want to master this information and get the test so you can start to make some income, but you want to be good at what you do. You need to understand loan to value, different fees. You need to understand the closing statements inside and out, from mortgage origination fees, title fees, to settlement closing fees, to inspection fees, to anything, points on the mortgage, that buy down rates. You need to know that inside and out, because if you are a professional and your customer is seeking that kind of wisdom from you, you have to be able to proficiently answer those questions in all and everything that you do. And then once you become a mastery of that information, then you set yourself apart from your competition. And when you set yourself apart from your competition, you will actually get the majority of the sales in your market. And that's why the top 5% of real estate, loosely paraphrasing the statistic, the top 5% of real estate professionals typically sell the majority of the real estate, 90% of the real estate on the market. And there's a reason for that, because you got to remember, this is their people's biggest decision and their biggest investment in their life is their home. or the rental property or personal, investment or commercial property. I mean, the majority of everything that they work for and everything is based on that. And for you to short them by having not have expertise in your field, there's no point in doing that. Let's just put it that way. Also, too, it's very wise to understand, all mastering all these things when it comes to proficiency and whatnot. Now, one thing too, like there's real estate sales professional exams, and then there's a real estate brokerage exam as well. The brokerage exam is going to have a little bit more questions, and you're going to be able to obtain a broker's license and actually open your own real estate brokerage if you wanted to, but that's going to require a lot more. Typically, the real estate salesperson license is what happens. You're in that's kind of where you'll kind of go through there. But also too, one thing that should be talked about is environmental issues and property disclosures. I mentioned it briefly earlier. Property conditions, hazardous substance, lead-based paint addendums, asbestos, radon, mold, wire fraud addendums, groundwater contamination, underground storage tanks, floodplains, flood zones, flood insurance, Clean Air Water Acts, EPA Acts, Superfund amendments, and wetlands protection. And these are the kind of things that you have to know. Also, too, you're going to need to know what types of agency, whether it become exclusive right to sell, exclusive agency listings, exclusive open listings, net listings, and you need to understand the multiple listing service. And you will have to understand how property management, how you have to count for funds, how you can never commingle any funds if you're a broker or a property manager. It's best to, one simple tip is it's typically best to write the earnest deposit directly to the title company that you're going to use. And that alleviates massive amounts of problems when it comes to different things. But there could be state regulations that require it go straight to your broker first, but never commingle funds, and you never mix any kind of finances for the fiduciary client to the brokerage and anything like that. That's a fast way to lose your license. So anyways, those are just some brief things from me. Ultimately, my channel's a little bit new, and I have to gain some proficiency in posting videos as well. So I will work on that and make my content better as we complete those things. But like and subscribe, and I will post more. Thank you.